So guys, welcome to the Posted Times, your source for Australian and world news. Now just before I start, I want you to just look over there. There are going to be annotations over here, and they're split up into two sections, Australian and world news. And also, the news stories are also there. At this point, there aren't really that many, so they're mostly Australian stuff, and I'm sorry for that. I mean, I'm not really much of a news head. And there hasn't really been anything that I felt that I've been able to talk about, especially in world news. So let's start with Australian news. And in Australian news there were kind of two things I wanted to talk about. One which is very complex and very difficult issue, and one which is just basically a flat out why. So let's start with the easy stuff. So if you're an Australian, you probably have heard about the carbon tax, and I've kind of been keeping up with it, and it's essentially where they tax you for use of carbon. So for example, if you have power stuff that involves greenhouse gas emissions, burning coal, that is carbon dioxide emissions, and thus they're going to put a tax on that. And it's kind of to discourage things that involve high amounts of carbon dioxide release, such as fossil fuel burning for power production. One case in particular that I remember hearing about the other day, one of my local representatives for politics, honestly I don't know exactly that much about them because I really don't care about politics, received a letter with a black substance. Everybody started freaking out. Turns out it was carbon, because the day after the carbon tax was going to be introduced. Now with all these taxes, quite a lot of people will obviously start thinking, well, if we're putting all this money into the government, what are they going to give to us? And obviously there's tons of things that could be good that the government chooses to do with it. They could put it into education for all these small children that really need it to be able to get a good job. They could do it for medical things to help those that are in dire need and help with all the massive queues and stuff. Or perhaps they could help homeless people. Well, sadly, not all of this might come into fruition. The fact of the matter is, not all money is going to be going to the government, but they've decided to give themselves another pay rise. This is the second time this has been done in this year. So, obviously, as I'm saying, not all your money that you're putting into your taxes is going to be going into their pockets. But it seems like a bit of a waste with all the problems that we're having, especially like with the economy, that they're giving themselves a pay raise. Now I know some of you guys might be going, oh, well that's not really that much of a big deal. If you guys want a bit of perspective, Obama gets around $400,000 US. By contrast, Julia Gillard, the current Prime Minister of Australia, after this pay rise, will be getting $500,000 US a year. And I believe the British Prime Minister gets a much smaller amount than both of them. But the thing that annoys me is just the way that the Australian government, in my opinion, and admittedly I don't follow the Australian government because I hate them so much, which means I have no way at all that I can probably judge them. But it just seems like a massive, basically a playground. You've basically just got a bunch of kids bullying each other. You've got question time, which instead of being, what do you think is a good idea? I think this is a good idea. Maybe we should add this. Constructive criticism. Instead, it's just, look at that freaking idiot. Mr. Abbott says that maybe we're all freaking retards. Which, it's just, it doesn't embarrass me. But I mean, if I was a politician, like if I didn't know what politics was like all about with question time, and I went into politics, and I was in a government, and I have to say that one of these people that are just acting like freaking 5-year-olds around each other is right, I have to say, oh, is correct, or is correct, I would just freaking lose it. I would get the hell out of there as soon as possible. It just embarrasses me that they can be just, like, I understand that all governments probably have some level of that, And as I said, I have not looked in any way into this, so I probably can't judge. And if nothing else, I just hate freaking the ads around election time. It's not a case of I support gay pride. It's about, look at that freaking loser. He doesn't support gay pride. He's a homophobe. He freaking hates everyone. And it just makes me freaking lose. And worse still, voting is compulsory. And I'm now old enough that I have to freaking vote. Which is great. And the sad thing is I don't want to do a donkey vote because I don't want to put freaking idiots in charge. I'm gonna vote Greens all the way though. No Labour or Liberal, because they are the biggest faggots. So moving on from less hatred-filled news to more complex and actually making you think about news as opposed to one-sided, I want to rip your face off. And this is something that isn't really in the news. It was on a news show that I regularly watch, and it is all about the Murray-Darling. So the Murray-Darling, for all you guys who don't know, is a really massive river. I need to do more research exactly where it is. It runs New South Wales down through Victoria, and it's essentially considered the lifeblood of Australia, even though it doesn't run all the way through Australia. To get more to the issue at hand, the lifeblood of Australia is drying up. Not necessarily though because of drought. There has been droughts. However, it's not due to that. It is due to man-made influences. That's not how it should be said. The way this happens is because since Australia has so many farms, an irrigation system has been set up with the Murray-Darling. Murray-Darling. Essentially what happens is there are massive pipelines that take water from the Murray-Darling for use in irrigation systems, for just like all the crops and stuff, which I'm pretty sure is the definition of irrigation. Yes. As a result, there have been ideas put in place that maybe there should be a tightening up of the amount of water that can be used. It's not exactly clear how that would be, whether it be like a tax or something, or they'd just say, no more water. But the issue is that there are many farmers upstream who might be negatively impacted as a result of this. This is whether or not they would run out of water, if it was like you have a finite amount of water. This can obviously be very bad not only for business, but it can be bad for just like families in general, because they might lose their jobs, become homeless. It's bad for Australian jobs, because if you don't have farmers, then you can't have all the other people. You'd have to just like outsource it, which could possibly screw up the economy, which I'm not sure how that would happen, or if it even could happen, because that's how I care so little about so many of the things I'm trying to report on. But essentially what it really comes down to is potentially the livelihood of tons of these farmers upstream could be affected. Now you might be thinking, oh well, we can't ban this at all. But once again it gets more complicated, because if you think about it, at the start you might have been like, ooh, environment, we've got to stop the farmers. Then you go, wait, oh, the farmers need this water to help protect them. Now let's make it even more complicated, so you're just sitting on the fence. Because the fact of the matter is, many of the farmers are upstream, but that doesn't mean they all are. There are some that are downstream. The disadvantage to these people that are downstream of all these people using up all this water is the fact that the water becomes more salty. If you use tons of water, then the salt would be more it's basically like if you had a bunch of salt water and you like boiled it, it would become more salty because there's less water in it, but there's still the same amount of salt in it. And if it becomes too salty, it can't be used for irrigation, because you can't really pour salt water onto plants, because that won't be very helpful to them. And as a result, this is a kind of issue that I personally, like, I'm definitely sitting on the fence on it. I'm a proud fence sitter on many issues, and this kind of seems like an issue where even though I can't really speak for everyone, I kind of see this as the kind of issue that unless you have a particular stake in this, like you're heavy like I'm environmentalist, but even then I find it hard to go look at all these people. Or if you are one of the farmers, especially one that's like upstream, we can't regulate the water, or downstream, and it's like, we must regulate the water, otherwise these guys who don't regulate the water will make our water all salty, and then everything will die. So, very complicated issue. Please put something in the comments. What do you think of this issue? Now, moving right along to world news, and before I kind of start, I just wanted to say happy birthday, America! As of July 4th, America celebrated their independence with the sausages and the drinking beer, which sounds a lot like Australia Day. It is, of course, celebrating the independence of America from the English tyrannical rule, even though Australia hadn't done that for some reason, because, like, we voted for it and people said no. And I'm confused by that. But as the story goes, a few good men, I'm not sure why I included the title of a movie there, in July 4th, 1776. In fact, I heard that it was July 2 and then it was by some, I don't know, it's a long, I don't know, I watch too much YouTube and don't do enough research. Because I'm impulsive, I'm a teenager, what do you expect? But of course, this would make America... Damn it, I don't want scientific calculator. This is not, I don't need a scientific calculator. Which means it has been this many years. And also if you want the number of days, you can, yeah, that. I don't know why you need that, but I thought. And if you want the squared number of how many days, it's that. See? Utilizing scientific calculator. And I guess all I can say is happy birthday, America! Moving right along to some quick news, mainly because once again I haven't done my research, but mainly just because even if I didn't do my research, and if I tried to do research, my brain would explode. But the Higgs boson has been discovered. To those who do not know what it is the God particle. I'm a Mercury Hadron Collider, you can't refuse. Yeah, not quite like that. Basically, the Higgs boson particle, or the God particle, is essentially a particle that gives things mass, I think, and something about the speed of light. As you may have guessed, I'm not exactly a physics major. I haven't even gone to college yet. I've done some chemistry, and I can honestly say I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Essentially, it's something they've been doing with Hadron Collider. I know they do freaky shit with that, because I heard that they made a black hole, but it was like a tiny one, and it was squashed by the universe. To which I was just like, what the fuck? What's, you made a black hole? That's cool. Don't know how that's possible, because honestly, whenever I think of a black hole, my mind just goes into the fetal position and hides in the corner. But regardless, the science community is all awesome. This is freaking awesome. There are people that are crying about this. They've discovered the mysteries of the universe. I honestly don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just like, yeah, cool. I love science. Science is cool. Admittedly, I don't like the idea of learning science this year and then possibly going to uni, and then you just kind of like, no, they've discovered the God particle, everything is wrong. Dump everything you have ever learnt. Leave it at the door. But yeah, this is pretty cool, especially because they're just like speed light travel, and I'm just, yay, I'd like to do that someday. Except for possibly my atoms tearing apart or some crap. Because, I mean, anything can happen. Especially if you have no idea what the fuck is supposed to even maybe happen. Yeah. My brain is melting. I'm sorry, I have to go. Bye. Oh, and before I die, please make sure to subscribe up there and to like down there and to share down there and to add to your favorites and put in a comment on the question of the day. What do you think should be done about the Murray Darling issue? If you haven't seen the thing, like, go to the annotation, please. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I forgot I was dying.